I live in the Washington, D.C. area, where our professional football team was a slur to Native Americans that finally wasn't changed until a couple of years ago. I'm talking about the pandemic, right? That a lot of baseball teams and college teams, mascots are derogatory towards Native Americans. Now, if you're praising a tribe like Florida State Seminoles, that's cool. But the Cleveland Indians? I won't even repeat the former Washington football team's name because that's such a slur that it's not quite the N word, but it ain't that far off. And I often got into arguments living in the DC area with black folks who love that Washington football team and will wear that emblem all on their chests and say the name. And I still correct people right now to this day who still say the former name. And I say, hold up, man, wait up. Why is it okay for you to say that when you wouldn't want a white person to call you the N-word? Well, that's not quite the same. I'm not going to go on what's worse. They're both bad. And you know it's bad. You know it's wrong. Well, some of them don't mind. Some of them speak for all of them. Like, you know in your heart that this is bad. Me as a black man, this is a reason why I get on this podcast and I talk about marginalized groups, whether it's us as black folks, whether it's Latino folks, whether it's the Jewish community, whether it's people that follow Islam as a faith, whether it's the LGBTQ plus community, anybody that's a marginalized group, I'm always going to be on their side because me as a marginalized person would want you to understand that when I talk about my trauma, my pain, I want you to appreciate what I'm saying, not have understanding, but have empathy. So I, of course, am going to have empathy and try, even though I probably can't, try to have understanding for any marginalized group for what they tell me that they're going through. I couldn't understand how so many black people in this area couldn't understand how wrong that was. And they did. They understood how wrong it was. They just didn't want to take away their feel good. And I almost get it. I used to love R. Kelly music. Let me be honest. I still love R. Kelly music. I won't listen to it, but for two songs I still can't give up. R. Kelly is an animal. What he did to those young women, he was an absolute animal. I'm also going to call out my hypocrisy because I knew in the early 2000s, because I had seen the videotape, exactly what he did. And I ignored it because I enjoyed his music. And it wasn't until that documentary was shoved in my face and I had no choice but to acknowledge it and say, I cannot condone what he did. I must condemn it. I cannot support him anymore. I have to call myself out on my own hypocrisy. I have to do it, even if it's taking away my feel good. So people don't want to change the names of their sports team because it takes away their feel good. I partly understand it. I'm not partly. I get where they're coming from. I do. I get where they're coming from. I also get where people are coming from when they don't want to acknowledge America's atrocities. I get it. You love your country. I also get the fact that you don't want to acknowledge that your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, your sibling, your friends are at fault and have done things that were mistakes and have wronged you. I get it. But just because you acknowledge all those things does not mean that you don't love it. Acknowledging the truth means that you love that person or thing even more. Because despite all of their bad stuff, you still love it. Black people have every right. Native Americans have every right. Jewish Americans, the LGBTQ plus community, any marginalized group has every right to hate America because America hasn't really loved them back. It's an abusive relationship. Have you ever been in an abusive relationship? Have you ever loved somebody or something and it just didn't love you back? It just didn't treat you nice? Every time it got a chance to, it stepped on your throat, kicked you in your butt. Have you had that? That's what it's like being a marginalized group in this country. But every person in those marginalized groups still have love for this country. So, what is the entire point? Celebrate Thanksgiving. Be thankful for your friends and your family. Flip it, right? It starts out as a bad thing. We basically decimated Native Americans in this country, right? Basically decimated. And before you go and say, well, we gave them reservations, look at the land. Look at the land that we gave them. It really wasn't great land, right? Like we didn't give them much to try and build on. That's the truth, okay? Native Americans still love this country. Native Americans are still trying to bring people together to understand the truth and significance of Thanksgiving. It can absolutely be a day of mourning, and we should absolutely recognize all those that have lost their lives for generations. While this holiday has been disguised as a good thing. But also, we could take from that, take the day of mourning, and also give thanks. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging both of them. We don't have to be binary. Things don't always have to be black and white. Life is shades of gray. And I get it. Some of you guys that listen to this, you either enjoy my shades of gray or you hate my shades of gray. Some of y'all out there are hate listening and hate watching, and that's okay. If you like that clip, go ahead and hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to catch up on all of our latest content. Don't forget to hit the notification button when you do subscribe so you can get updated every time we release content. We release content every day, whether it's an actual show or clips from the shows. So go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. Also, don't forget our Patreon page where you can find our Talking Straight-ish and After Hours Uncensored episodes. That's patreon.com/unsolicited perspectives. But once again, thank you again for listening to Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, and I'm going to catch you next time. I'll holla.